Hi, welcome to SerpentSong Sanctuary. This is Annapurna Garden, and I am Xanna Seto, and I'm so glad you're here. It's a very, very dreary, wet day today. It's the day after the equinox, and I actually shot my intro yesterday, but due to the wonders of technology, or maybe even user error, probably user error, those files have poof disappeared, and so here I am out in the cold and wet to redo the introduction to this video. I wanted to share with you some of the wonderful plant allies that we have that we can plant in our gardens for the colder weather months. Here in the Pacific Northwest, we're I think zone 8A or zone 8B here. Temperate climate. We're down kind of near the sea level. We're on an island down in the womb of the Salish Sea. And so we have a very particular climate. And we're blessed to be able to grow several things into the colder months. So I planted quite a few things on the day of the equinox. And that was my way of expressing my prayer for and to the earth, and of striving toward that unattainable, which is perfect balance. And yet it is in that striving that we truly live, that we truly experience life. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn back the dial on the Wayback Machine just a little bit, just until yesterday. And we're going to dive right into my offering. I hope you enjoy it. A late summer harvest just a couple of days ago, and late summer has turned into autumn. Today is the equinox. And I am going to restore some balance to this garden by putting some more stuff in the ground. And hopefully this is going to feed us some fresh, wholesome, healthy, nourishing vegetables during the colder winter months. And I'm going to see how long we can keep this garden going this year. So we're going to go over to the mandala beds, and we're gonna get to, this is some of the beautiful seedlings that we started in the greenhouse down the road, my good friend Pat's greenhouse, which we will visit at some point soon. And it's a really beautiful, healthy plant. There's actually two in here. Now, I'm going to plant this in this beautiful mandala bed. You can look over here and see this. And I have all this open space that's specifically here for just that, interspersed with some of the herbs and then some of the other lettuces that I planted from seed. Now, the thing about these is, you'll see how close together, if you get really up in there, you'll see how close together these two roots are. And I don't want to rip the roots up. I don't want to take the chance that I will damage these plants. So I'm going to very gently kind of work that out of there by squeezing this container, this pot. And then I'll just let some of the dirt fall away. And this is where you get your hands dirty. You can't really avoid it. I wear gloves when I can, but it's really nice to get your hands in the earth. You know, it's very, very therapeutic. So I'll just gently work some of this dirt off the roots. But then I'm going to dip the roots in a little bit of water. And that'll just gently work the tendrils apart. And you also have to be very careful of these new leaves. They're very, very tender. They're very, very fragile. And then I'll just kind of move a little bit of this dirt aside and slip that in there just like that. There we go. I'm gonna put another one. I'm gonna give them plenty of space because I know that these lettuce heads, they're gonna get pretty big. Their outer leaves, their bottom leaves are really gonna have a nice spread. And those are the ones we'll be picking from as we eat the lettuce. But I just want to give them some room so that everybody gets enough sun, especially in this lower fall and winter light. All right, so I'm going to put this one in here. This is a no-dig bed that I made. I built earlier this summer. Okay, I think there's only one plant in here, so we're pretty good to go on this one. I can just kind of make enough room to plop this whole thing into the ground. Again, giving everybody enough space so they can spread out and do their thing happily. Just need to give each other room to express ourselves, right? The garden teaches us so much. Teaches us how to interact with one another as well. So we have the Mizuna here, and I've already pulled this one out of its container. Came apart really well. We're going to plant this on a pornohugel here, where I had the kohlrabis. I always forget the name. Now you'll notice if you look at that basil right there, you can see how it's planted in kind of a horseshoe shape following the line of the drip irrigation. That was because in the summer we tend to have pretty dry summers. So at least lately. So now, because we're coming into our wet season, our monsoon season here in the Pacific Northwest, I don't need to worry about the drip irrigation being the primary source of water for my plants. So now I can kind of more fill this in a little bit. Now I know Mizuna is going to get a footprint of about that big, so I'm just going to do a couple. And I think I've got, yeah, I'm just going to space it out enough, but really kind of more fill this area in. Okay, so let me just come in here, find some space. Dig into the hugel. Look how pretty that dirt is. Isn't that nice? It's just gorgeous. Yeah, really healthy. All right, and then I'll just shove that in there just like that. There we go. Simple as that. Easy peasy. And give this enough space and come down this far. Do another little opening. Make sure that I've got the ground cover pushed back enough. I am concerned about slugs here. They are pretty voracious. So, and this is the thing about little new leaves. They're pretty fragile. So, but they are edible. Good stuff. All right. Okay, I'm just going to fill the rest of this in, and we'll do the next thing. So one thing I did forget when I was doing the lettuces and the Mizuna, which I've corrected since, was the water. I think it's important when we're in the garden to remember all 5 elements. So we remember that, of course, we need the earth, we need good, healthy soil for our plants to grow in. We need water to nurture the roots and to provide, you know, water is life, right? So to provide the conditions for life. We need fire, we need the sun, which is graciously casting her rays down on us today. We need air, of course. Air flowing through, so that's where pruning and things like that come in, thinning out, because everything needs, again, space. So we have all 5 elements there. Let's go ahead and put this beautiful bok choy in now. So we do have one really teeny one in. So here, I want you to get in here and see this. So the way some seedlings come out is they make this really long kind of stem that goes into the root, and that is very, very fragile. So that can be pulled out right away. So what I'm going to do when I plant, I'm going to go ahead and plant it all the way up to this bulb here, all the way up to where the base is getting a little bit stronger and stockier. All right. So let me go ahead and pull these out of here. I wish I'd planted more, started more of the bok choy. So I think these are going to be pretty, yeah, pretty tied together. The mizunas were very easy to get apart, but these are pretty tied together. So I'm going to have to go ahead and use the water on these. You don't have to do it with everybody. Some of them just let go naturally and very easily. But I want all of these plants because I really didn't plant enough, or as much as I would have liked. Of course, there's always enough. Ah, there we go. See how easy that comes apart? Beautiful. Okay, and one more. Ah, nice long, strong root balls, root systems. Okay, and then another really good thing to do, which I didn't do with the lettuces or the mizuna, but I will start doing now, is when we're making the hole that we're gonna place those beautiful strong roots in, go ahead and give that a little bit of moisture in there. Yeah, that way the roots already have something to suck into. All right, so I'm just gonna push this right up. Yeah, right up there. I'll give that a little bit more water on the top. We're in the no-dig beds here that I made for the corn this summer. You can still see the corn stalks here. I cut them off. I didn't want to pull them out because they do tend to spread a bit. The only soil I really want to disturb significantly is the soil the root vegetables might be in. I have no choice but to pull those up and disturb the soil a bit. Here I want to keep the mycelial network intact, so I'm leaving it as is. This is Chinese cabbage, and it's going to have a huge footprint. So it's really gonna wanna spread out, and I'm gonna give it a lot of room here. I may not even plant all of these in this bed. Oh, look at that. Yeah, that came apart pretty easily, so I didn't need the water on that one. Yeah, so we'll see how many I can get in here. I'm gonna need to do maybe only 2 to a row, and I'm actually thinking 6 in this bed is probably going to be enough. So I'm definitely going to take some of these over to the fence bed over there where I know I have a lot of room. So here we are at the no-dig bed, the number 2 no-dig bed that I had for corn. This is where I'm going to put some red mustard. Red mustard is huge. It really gets humongous. So in this bed, I'm only going to put 6 plants. Another really good vegetable for cooler weathers, for fall and winter. Vocal dog. For fall and winter is cabbage. Cabbage will actually last into a good snow even. So I have my midsummer planting here. I've already harvested a few, but they've come to, the few that I have harvested have been really nice firm, thick heads. So I know that they do well in this spot. And I can also see, I've trimmed these down, but if you look at these guys, this is more indicative of the footprint that they need. And you can see down here, those three, I planted those a little too close together. So they show that, they reflect that in the size that they're growing. I also think they get a little less light down lower on the hugel as well. But I know that I'm going to need to give these guys a little bit of room. So I'll plant as many as I can over here. And then again, I have so much space back there in the fence bed, and then I can put it over there. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on the cabbages. So I'm gonna put this guy right in here, right beside where one that I've just harvested was. Yeah, and I can just plop that whole thing in there because it's just one cabbage. So give that a little bit of water. All right, that's the cabbages. I still have so many cabbages that I didn't need to plant that many because I do have the Chinese cabbages. I've got all these beautiful savoys. I've got these stone heads. And then this is just more of the stonehead type cabbage, just a green cabbage. All right, let's go right next door. What we have here is, I'm noticing broccoli does really well. I've tried it in so many different places in the garden and it does really well here. This was actually a really beautiful head. I need this real estate, but you can kind of see the amount of space one broccoli plant needs in order to thrive and be healthy. So I have to keep this in mind. I might be able to put 2 plants, you know, in each space. That was also a heading broccoli, but you can see there's little sprouts coming up on this one. You can see the little sprouts coming up. So that'll still produce some more. This one would do the same thing, but I want this space for the new plants that I have. So I have some, I believe it's purple sprouting broccoli. Yes, purple sprouting broccoli that we're gonna put in here. And let's do it, yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this guy out. What? Yep, that's your brassicas for you. They got some super vigorous stems. Okay, we'll take that over to the compost pile in a bit. Here, and then now I have plenty of space for the new plants. All right, so same thing as always. Another really good winter cold weather vegetable is red cabbage. I had some red cabbage in the bed right to your right of the dahlia earlier, and have harvested that, and they made beautiful, gorgeous heads. So I know they do well in this bed. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this in again. I do have a horseradish here that I have to be mindful of. It tends to get really, really big and shade out a lot of stuff. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of space, and also knowing that this is going to die back as the weather gets colder. So not too worried about it. All right, let's plant the red cabbage. Here we are at Jaya, and you'll see that these existing chard plants, chard is again a really good cold hardy plant, one that grows particularly well along with kale in our climate in the Pacific Northwest, the ocean side of the Cascade Range. And I have rainbow chard, so I have the red, the yellow, a little bit of white back there, and that's all doing really well. So I wanted a little bit more of the white because it tends to make a really nice, thick, juicy, yummy stem that's tender. And I like the stems as well as the leaves. So I'm going to put it here where I know it'll do well because it obviously is already doing well. So let me get these in the ground. Again, you can see the footprint that takes up. So I am going to give it a lot of space. I'm also going to prune back this lovage just a bit, just to make sure that that doesn't shade out the plants too much. So I think I'm going to come in here with one. No winter garden is complete without cauliflower. I think I have a purple cauliflower that I'm putting over in the fence bed, and this is a white snowball cauliflower, so your typical cauliflower that you see at the store. So we're going to go ahead and plant these in this open space that was left by the previous occupants, which were broccolis and cauliflowers. And the cauliflowers did pretty well here, the broccoli not so much, so that's why I put it a little bit higher up. Okay, so we're gonna, so again, these take a pretty big footprint. So we're gonna give them plenty of space, plenty of opportunity to coexist peacefully without competing for resources. Yeah, there's another lesson we can all learn. Because there are plenty of resources to go around. Actually, we live in such a scarcity mentality sometimes. We forget how much abundance there really is. So, and again, these have that kind of stringy little stem on them, so I'm going to plant them pretty deep. There we go. Earth, water, fire, air, space. Keep that mantra. Keep that mantra going. Here we are in the fence bed. This is where the squash was. And now I'm going to put in purple cauliflower. So, of course, cauliflower, cold weather tolerant plant for your winter garden. The last two of the white cauliflower, and then all of the rest of the plants that I didn't have room for in the other beds. I'll have a lot of room here. So I'm gonna get these guys in, and then we're gonna go plant some seeds. Well, we have one more little seedling to put in, and then seeds. We are at the northwest quadrant of the central mandala bed. And in this quadrant, I had planted these golden beet seeds. And for some reason, they just didn't do very well. Either the seeds were really old, or they suggest that you soak them before planting for direct sowing. So I didn't do that either. So maybe that's what happened. I have here just a couple of arugula plants. that I'm going to use just to fill the bed out a little bit. These beets will eventually go ahead and get larger and mature. So I don't want to get anything that's really small too close to them because their foliage is going to start coming out in the next few weeks. And I think these arugula will do okay with a little bit of shading, so that shouldn't be a problem. So I'm going to put these in this bed here. Arugula, another cold tolerant, cool weather loving plant. I didn't have much luck with it down in one of my other beds, so I'm hoping it does well up here. All right, so that's the last of the seedlings that I had started. Now we're gonna move on to planting some actual seeds. So I have just harvested some Chioggia beets from this bed. But for now, we're going to go ahead and replant beets in this bed. I may even fill in the side of the northwest bed. So this is the southwest quadrant. And I have, there they are. I have my seeds that I pre-soaked here. I have a little stick. I'll go ahead and compact this down just a bit because this is one of those times when you can't help but disturb the soil because it's root vegetables, so they have to come out somehow. You gotta pull them. All right, so these beet seeds, I'm just gonna poke a hole and plant a seed. And I'm gonna put the seeds probably about a 6-inch spacing. So, and just one seed to a hole. That's probably a little close. A little bit farther out. Get that kind of deep in there. They're about maybe, I don't know. The directions are on the package. It's probably 1/4 to a 1/2 inch underground. And I'm just gonna fill in all the spaces here. What I planted is a beet mix. So there's some Chioggia, some golden beet, and some red beet, the traditional red purple beet in here. And now I've got this kind of filled in, and I've also planted out that southwest quadrant as well. All right. So let's move on to this bed here. Okay, so here we are at the southeast quadrant of the mandala bed, and this was a learning experience. Those happen quite a bit actually. These are parsnips, and they take a long time to germinate and come up, and I planted them with rutabagas, which are super fast and really big. And so what happened was, of course, the rutabagas just came on full force and completely shaded out the poor little parsnips as they were trying to struggle their way up out of the dark and into the light. So we can't crowd out those that are still struggling. We need to allow them the space to express themselves fully. So That is what needed to happen, and it was a learning experience for me. So now, these are gonna get plenty of light, and they should start to come on just fine. And hopefully it won't be like a reverse thing where they shade out what I'm getting ready to plant, which is another radish. Rutabagas are a radish relative. And these will again sprout within, they'll start to really come to full maturity probably 25 to 35 days or so. So I'm hoping that by then these guys will have a chance to really, you know, be able to coexist well. They'll have a chance to establish some growth. These are those beautiful watermelon radishes that look so gorgeous in salads or in rice bowls. Oh yeah, bibimbap. Oh my goodness. I can think of a million things I'd like to make with them. There's something so satisfying about connecting with the earth, especially on a day that marks a major transition, you know, in our natural timings. So this is the fall equinox chorus. So this is my way, my prayer to the earth by communing with her and working with her and nurturing my garden, nurturing her, the earth, so that she can in turn nourish me and my family and all of the people that this garden will feed. This is the waning crescent bed, and this has the yellow and red onions that are really beginning to come to maturity, and had some cherry radishes right in here in this little section. So I am again going to plant more cherry radishes here, and then whatever I have left I can kind of interplant with the lettuces up over there, because they tend to have a pretty small little footprint. They don't get in anybody's way, and they're super fast, like 25 days, and they're ready to go. So we're just gonna throw these guys in pretty tightly, actually, I think, because yeah, like I said, they don't take up a big footprint. Well, looks like I used all of the cherry radish seeds in this area, so I won't need to interplant with the lettuces after all. We are pretty much done with the planting. I'm gonna get this all watered out and make sure that everything's ready for the coming rains. Well, that was quite an adventure. That brings us to the end of this offering. I really hope you enjoyed what you saw, what you experienced with me. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe. And if you try anything that I'm doing, any of my gardening methods, any of my cooking recipes, please share that with me in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And until we meet again, virtually or in person, I want you to be nourished, be inspired, and be transformed. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.